Hey everyone, it's Matt, and today we've got an under the hood video here with the 2019 Grand Cherokee Trailhawk. As you can see, I have removed the bulky, huge stock airbox and replaced it with this unit from aFe. This is the Momentum GT. First off, this is a fantastic looking piece of equipment. It's really well made. Some stuff that's probably unnecessary. This big piece of metal here. The window into the filter is a little corny for my taste, a little racer. But overall, it's not bad. I'm always, intakes are what they are. And I could probably do a 35-minute video on my opinions of intakes. I ran true cold air intakes on some of my sportier, less sporty cars over the years. So I had a Honda Civic that I ran a cold air intake, and it actually, routed the tubing and everything down into the bumper or closer to the grill to pull in more air. These are kind of hybrids where they still sit in the engine bay. They are pulling in cooler air, but the air is no cooler than what was coming in from the factory. What is dramatically different and makes me a little nervous is when I see an airbox that is over-designed. So if you're looking at this and then going out and looking at your personal vehicle, you will notice that there is a massive amount of air bladder, I guess, for lack of a better term, or open space plastic here and over here that is done away with in lieu of this straight piece of plastic. Now, manufacturers do that for one of two reasons. They either are designing that for more power or they're designing it for better fuel economy. Now, I have not seen a dramatic change in fuel economy. I have a seat of the pants feel of more power with a couple of exceptions. We'll talk a little bit about that. But there's both good and bad with anything that you design. I do think that this looks pretty good. It more or less, you can still use the air cover. It more or less, fits in there well. The breather hose design is not great. It literally is just slid over back here, whereas the factory hose used a clamp. I think they could do a better job with that piece. It is also incredibly fiddly to install. You can see I've got a nice seal here where the filter goes into the airbox. Notice that this will not seal up, and I have redone this probably 2 or 3 times. When I loosen this, this will slide into place, but the minute that I get this tight, it either pulls this out if this is tight, or as you're tightening it, this comes out. I've had someone actually hold this while I tighten this, and this just slowly backs itself out as you're tightening it. So I'm not real happy with that. I don't think that there's any real air leaking there, but nevertheless, it is a little annoying. I also wasn't super happy. They have a notch cut out for this hard line, but I actually had to bend this hard line just a little to get it to clear this. And so, I don't know if that changes from year to year, and there's some minor adjustments, but I, like I said, very, very carefully pushed that down so that it would clear this plastic. When I said earlier, I said it's, basically the same air that's coming into the stock intake. What you have, more or less, you can kind of see right here where the hood seals. So you have air coming in through the grill here. It's channeled up into this, and it basically, it flows through right here. So your cold air, rather for the stock system or this system, is literally flowing into this channel from the hood. So it's, it doesn't seem like a lot of air. I have seen some people that have removed this piece here to get more air in there, but I'm not going to do that. And it just, goes right into the filter. That made me a little nervous. Obviously, it's very dirty already just from, some drives. that filter is going to get very dirty very, very quickly. In fact, it's already starting to show quite a bit of dirt on it after just a couple of weeks. The other issue is moisture and water. The way that the other system was set up, the air went in and up and then down into the filter. So certainly water could accumulate, but this filter is going to get wet faster than the stock filter would for sure. And you know, it's kind of comical. I don't know that I, you know, dig this kind of, I don't know. It seems very non-professional, kind of ricer to me, especially when I can just look in there and see the quality. Let's just make this a solid piece of plastic, less filler points. But hey, I am probably not the average buyer for this piece. So overall, install wasn't bad. You know, I hate this filter system. I've had systems in the past where the filter is sandwiched between this and this. This is kind of a failure point and really made for a really annoying install. So it was at this point in the video where you would have been watching me sitting in this chair wearing a plaid shirt, but probably not this plaid shirt, immediately talking about the intake right after filming that footage in my garage. It would have also been immediately after I did a 900-mile road trip through the mountains, stop and go traffic, high-speed interstate driving, and was elated by the performance of that intake. I was literally a giddy school kid accelerating from one stop sign to the next, listening to that intake. Probably one of the best sounding intakes I've ever heard on a vehicle. That 3.6 liter Pentastar is a fantastic motor anyway. I think it sounds really good for a V6. With that intake on it, I can only imagine what it sounds like with an exhaust and that intake. I was really, really happy with it, and I was starting to overlook the install challenges. Would I say that I was 100% happy? No, but I was probably 70% happy with that product, with the overall ownership experience. But well, then I made that video and I didn't finish it. It's been sitting in my phone. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I just hadn't got it finished, hadn't posted it. Over the next few weeks, I kept having the same problem where I would open the hood to check the oil. Eventually, I was just opening the hood to check the intake, only to find out that that little gap that I showed you in that first part of the video, getting bigger and bigger. And I would undo the hose clamp, tighten it up, put it all back together, drive for another day, check it again, gap open back up. It just would not seal. In fact, I was tightening that hose clamp at one point to the point where it would not tighten any farther. I was literally maxing out that particular type of hose clamp. So it was quite frustrating. The other issue, well, let's stick to this issue. So couldn't get it tight, was super annoying. Eventually I took it apart with the intention of putting everything back together. And it was at that point that I realized that tightening that strap over and over and over again, I had actually taken the circular part of the plastic tube and actually indented it. And so I'd created a crease. I folded it in on itself in an effort to get it tight. Now, mind you, at no point in tightening it to that point did I ever feel like I really had a good seal. So I was maxing out that hose clamp and literally destroying the pipe underneath, but at no point actually ever getting it tight to an area where I felt it was safe to continue to drive. So I ended up removing the intake altogether, which brings me to the second point. While I had the intake on there, I had done a couple of 0 to 60 tests, sport mode on, sport mode off, a couple of different closed roads where I could safely test the vehicle, very level roads. And I was getting a mix of somewhere between 9.4 seconds and 9.7 seconds. Now, I'm using an app on my iPhone to test it. I used the similar app on my Ram 2500. And with that, I was getting pretty much what you would see on most of the YouTube videos or reviews that I had read. So I felt fairly confident that if I was running the Ram 2500 and getting, with that app, relatively correct number, I felt fairly confident with that 9.4, 9.7. Now, I had pretty much decided that was, I had heavier tires, heavier wheels. That's just what that Jeep was going to run. Imagine what it must have been running before that intake was installed. Well, once the intake was removed, I thought, shit, let's try this. Same road, same temperature, almost a second faster on average. So significantly better performance without the intake. What I was really noticing was it's the 50 to 60. When I was running it before, that's where I was really seeing a real gap. From 50 to 60, it felt like the acceleration was really slowing down. It was really bogging down. It's still, the car in general still bogs down a little bit between 50 and 60, but it doesn't seem as noticeable now that intake is gone. And so I think what I've done is balanced out a little bit. I maybe don't have quite the off the line quickness, the kind of torquey punch, that low end torque punch, but I'm making up for it by being a little faster on that 45 to 60 range. So so it was a little bit of a vindication, I guess, if you will. Like, I was very disappointed that the intake that I really liked so much, I liked the sound of it, the look of it was pretty good. It was a relatively inexpensive upgrade to put that big of a smile on my face from a driving experience. I was really disappointed that it didn't work out, that the either my install or the design of the piece, I'm going to guess it was probably my install, didn't work, didn't function properly. But I was, as I said, I was vindicated to know that it does appear that while I might have been getting more horsepower at some point in the power band, while I was probably getting more torque at some point in the curve, the actual performance, something like a 0 to 60, was actually made worse with the intake, at least for me. So that's pretty much where we ended up with. So you're now watching this version of the video where I am a little bit more dejected, a little bit more unhappy about the outcome than I was in the original video that I filmed 2 or 3 weeks ago. The good news is that you're going to see in upcoming videos why it doesn't matter if this intake was on the Jeep or not. And so I'm excited to get to that here in the next few days. But in the meantime, hopefully this was somewhat helpful. If you have this Momentum GT intake or any intake running on your 3.6 liter Durango or Jeep Grand Cherokee, please post in the comments below. I want folks to be able to not only see my opinion, but also hear how your experience has been, and offering up other opportunities for other intakes that might work better and have a better experience than I do. If you have specific questions about my experience, please post those down in the comments as well. I do try to get to all of my comments in a timely fashion. I do enjoy interacting and hearing differences of opinion. And that's pretty much why I do what I do. This is not a job for me. It's just something fun to do when I am not working. So if you enjoyed this video, please click on the like. And if you want to see more videos like this one without having to dig for them, YouTube will gladly make them available to you if you just subscribe to my channel. And if you did so, I would greatly appreciate that as well. Otherwise, check out some of my other videos and stay tuned. We'll talk again soon. Hope you're safe. Hope you're staying well, and God bless. Till next time.